All right, good evening. I'm Stacy from the Iowa City Public Library, here to give you an overview of getting free ebooks from your public library. A little general info. Let me see if I can advance this. With your Iowa City Public Library card, you have access to our collection of thousands of ebooks. And we have things for all ages, from children to teens to adults, from text-based ebooks to audiobooks to digital graphic novels and comic books too. So who's eligible for this? It depends on where you live. So you can look in this list and check that you are eligible to use your Iowa City Public Library card for these. If you live in Coralville or North Liberty, you still have access to the same collection that we share with them. And you'll see that it's called Digital Johnson County. But if you do live in Coralville or North Liberty, you'll want to log on to it with your local library card to get access. Residents of other towns in Iowa likely have access to ebooks through their local library or a regional consortium. So if you're tuning in to this video and this doesn't cover you, you still might be interested to hear more. So the cost. These ebooks are free to you because the library is paying for you to have access. Just briefly, publishers get to decide how library ebooks are checked out and sold, and some of them are limited to just one person at a time, just like print books. So you might see that there's a waiting list for some, and even though that doesn't always make sense since they're electronic and should be able to be reproduced as many times as we want, there is a limit in these contracts. Other contracts we can have an always available, and so you can check it out with no wait. So just a heads up for how the ebook waiting lists can work. A little frequently asked questions are how the checking out works and what the checkout limits are. So you could have 5 ebooks or e-audiobooks checked out at a time. You can have 10 things waiting on hold. And when you check out, you get to choose between 7, 14, or 21 days. If you know you're a fast reader, you can choose the short ones. If you're slow like me, I always choose 21 just in case. You can also return them early if you finish early, or just let them get returned on their own, which is the great benefit that you never have to worry about due dates or late fines for these ebooks. They get returned automatically for you. One new thing in Libby, which I'll talk about in a minute. Libby is one of the apps that you can use for ebooks. And recently some of our digital magazines got folded into Libby. And so when you check out a magazine from there, it does not count towards your 5 checkouts. It's a separate, I don't know that there is a limit for those magazines. You can check out a whole bunch and it won't affect your books. Okay, let's talk about devices for a second. So you can read these free ebooks and audiobooks on your smartphone, on a tablet, a desktop computer, or a dedicated e-reader. And if you have a Kindle, you can get our ebooks, or many of them, on your Kindle, but there are some extra steps. So if you have Kindle specific questions, I could try to answer some of them tonight, but oftentimes it's easiest for you to just call the library and we'll dig into it on your particular model and look up what you need to know. But sometimes people get stuck on these terms. So let's just make sure that this is all clear. When you look in our catalog or when we talk about things, if we say a book, that's a print book with letters written on paper, right? Whereas an ebook is letters written on a screen of any kind. When you look in our catalog, audiobooks can be called sound recordings. The section is called fiction on disc or nonfiction on disc for the ones upstairs. And we also might call them a book on CD. So there's a lot of terms for this plastic case that's got a bunch of CDs in it. But what we're gonna aim for tonight are these e-audiobooks, or in our catalog, they might just be called e-audio. And I'll show you an example of what that looks like so that it's clear. let me pause, and I'm going to switch and do that now. Hang on a second. Let me switch to the library's website. So here we are. I can search the catalog from this box or go straight to the catalog at the top. And let's say I wanted to read Where the Crawdads Sing, which I'm pretty sure is a book that we have in all of those different formats. So the place I'm looking is right here. Here it is as a book. Here it is as a large print book. The sound recording means that those are physical CDs in a plastic case in the building. The e-audio means that you could listen to it over your device. And the e-book is where you are going to read it on your phone or other device. Are there any questions about how this looks in the catalog that trip you up? If you're searching for something and you get lots of results, you can also limit by the format over here. So if scanning this kind of makes your eyes go crossed, you can just limit it to ebooks and then not have to worry about it. Now, you don't have to start by browsing in the catalog, but I just wanted you to know that all of our ebooks and e-audiobooks are mixed into the catalog. So if you're kind of not particular about how you get a book, it could be nice to see which one is available right now. And rather than wait for the e-audio, which is not available, you could get the CDs or vice versa. The easier way to browse, if I'm going to switch here again, is in the place where you're going to read or listen to it. So you can do that in Libby, which is the main one that we're recommending right now. So Libby will work on your smartphone, whether it's an iPhone or Android. You could get it on a tablet. You can get it on, those are the main things. Maybe you could get it on some Kindle Fires, but if you can get Libby, that'll be the easiest way for you to get these ebooks. Some people still might need to use the Overdrive app, which is the older thing that we used to push a lot. And those would be maybe Kindle Paperwhites, Kindle Fires, although I did see that in the last month, first generation Kindle Fires can no longer add the Overdrive app. If you already have it on your Kindle Fire, then it'll continue to work, but they are starting to phase it out. So if you have specific questions about your Kindle and how to get started, please let us know and we'll do that one-on-one. A third option for getting these ebooks or e-audiobooks is just in a regular web browser on your computer or a device. So if you don't have a smartphone, this is the way that you can participate in this, as long as you don't mind sitting at your computer to take in your books. Let's see. And if you do decide to do the web browser way, there's a couple of ways to get started. So I'm going to switch my screen again. I'm going to start back at the library's website, which is ICPL101. And if I come to Books and More, and then Digital Library, that's one way to get to it. We also, right now on the homepage, if I scroll down, we've got Overdrive ebooks too. I am accustomed to going this way. So this is a nice spot if you're getting started. So it reminds you that this is where we have ebooks. You can follow a link to get the app onto your device. There's some really nice help descriptions from the Libby website or the Overdrive website, depending which one you're using. But if you click this button here where it's Browse Overdrive eBooks, then it'll take you to a website where you can do that. And let me just pause. I should have explained earlier. Overdrive is the company that's providing the ebooks to us that we contract with. And Libby is just one interface that they offer. So when I say Overdrive or Libby, it's all this exact same collection of books. It's just different ways of accessing it. I hope that's clear. If I click on that button, here I am, you'll see this digital Johnson County. So you're still in the right place if you're an Iowa Cityan. And it's urging me to try Libby, right? Because it's all mixed together. So I could sign in here and I could browse through the ebooks and audiobooks and magazines that are available and do it this way. It's asking me to get Libby again, just because that's a little more convenient for people. There's another way to use Libby directly in a browser though, and that's libbyapp.com. So I'm just going to show you that really quick. So I am already signed in here. And since they did an update to their interface recently, it's going to take me on a little tour. So let's follow that tour. So it's showing me that the menu is in the middle of this bottom section now. That gives me access to settings and adding or deleting a library card. The library is going to show me all of my options for things that I could check out. And then the shelf is anything that I have checked out or what I've put on hold. So this is the whole collection and this is my personal section. And then I can search for a specific title or author or topic. And the timeline is kind of new that they've put it up so obviously. This is where I can see what I've checked out in the past. So if we come to the library, which to me looks like a battery, but it's supposed to look like a library card. Here's where I can start browsing. I can see what's new, popular. The random feature is new as well. And it tells me like we've got 25,000 things available to us. And I can take some of their options here if I want to browse these ways. I can look at some curated lists of things just added. These are the ones where there's no waiting list, so you could get started on those right away. Things like that. So this is basically a replica of the Libby app, but it's on my desktop computer and it's very convenient. I'm going to also show you what Libby looks like on my phone. Are there any questions before I switch to my phone? Okay, great. You'll see that it looks pretty similar. Can just take a second to make the switch here. There we go. All right, so here's that same book being featured. Here's the same new, popular, random, things like that. Why do I have 39,000 available now? I don't know the answer to that, so let me let me write that down. In any case, thousands of things, more than you'll probably get through in the next year or so. Okay, here's some more browsing options and the magazines. So if you've been using Libby already and you're surprised to see these magazines in here now, we still have 2 different magazine locations. So Libby is one now and Flipster is the other. And that's just because the magazine publishers didn't make some of the popular magazines available in Libby. And so having that extra one enables us to have, I think, Real Simple and People and some other Meredith Company magazines. In any case, here I am in here. Some things that I like to do, we can see what's popular. And once you get into one of these sections, this preferences bar is my favorite thing to change in here. So I typically, I'm not a fan of audiobooks, so I just want to see the ebooks. So if I tap on preferences, I can limit my format to just books. One bit of warning, if you change this, it does hang on to that from session to session. And so you might suddenly be in an audiobook mood and think, how come nothing's coming up in my search? So remember, if you make a change here. Language is another option you could try. The audience is going to be about the age group. Supports. This is not something that I use a lot, but if you have an older e-reader where you need one of these options, you might want to try that. Availability is another one that I love. So I also can be impatient and I only want to see what I can get right now. But I'm going to, yeah, I'll leave that on. And then I can apply those. So that's a coincidence that that same book came up. But let's say that I want to try this Giver of Stars. So if I'm ready to check it out, I can borrow. But if I need to read a little bit more about it, I can tap on the title. I could read a sample if I want to. The samples actually are pretty generous. So if you are in the waiting list for a book, especially if it's in a series and you need to know what happens next, they give you a full chapter or two sometimes. And so you can really get tucked in while you're waiting. And then here's the sort of blurb that you'd see on the back or inside flap of a book, explaining it, giving some reviews. This is helpfully telling me I could also get it as an audiobook if I wanted. The date, and then the supports. So I should have scrolled down a little bit farther when I was doing those preferences because Kindle is one of the options. So if you're using a Kindle, the best thing you could do for yourself back here in the preferences bar under supports is choose Kindle. And then as you're browsing, you will only see the things that will work to transfer over to your Kindle. I'm going to turn that off for me though. Okay, so if I'm ready to borrow this, I'm going to tap on the borrow. And you might be tempted to just click right on this button, but this is an important moment to pause. This is your chance to decide how many days you want it for. So for this one, I'm going to say just a week would do. And this is reminding me which card I'm using. So most people won't have to worry about this, but if you share a device with somebody else in your family, you can have each of your library cards on there and use them both in the same place. And here's a little reminder. I have one thing checked out of 5. I don't have any holds. So checking out this book is not going to put me over the edge. What it's not pointing out is that I also have a magazine checked out. So that's just not part of these numbers at all. If you watch this little guy going, that's downloading to my phone right away. And so I can walk around town reading this and it won't use any of my data on my phone. If you don't like that feature, you can go into the settings and you can choose whether to have it automatically download or not. It does the same thing for audiobooks. So you can be driving along, listening to your audiobook, and it's not going to use phone data for you. So I'm going to open my book. Here's another moment where it gives me a chance to say if I'm using a Kindle or not. I don't have a Kindle, so I'm always choosing to read it in Libby. And just to show you a quick overview here. So this is the cover, obviously, and there's a little reminder here that that's the book I'm in. I can drag along here to advance, but really what I'll do is, you see my picture too, is I'm going to swipe. And this blank page, when I started reading ebooks, threw me off because, I was alive in the 90s when it might take a minute or two for something to load. So if you get a blank page, try to swipe past it just to see, and it could just be that it's a blank end page for you. So this is just like we're flipping through the book. There's a lot of stuff that you'll skip over until you get to the actual book. When I'm in here, if I want to see those navigation options again, I'll just tap somewhere in the middle and they pop right back up. If I'm done, tapping in the middle hides them away again. And I'll just show you what these are. So here again, there's some markers for the beginning of a chapter. Oops, I have to navigate on here. So you can jump ahead or around. If you're going to jump around a lot, you can put a bookmark down and keep track of where you are. Sorry. And you can also control what the visuals look like. So if I tap on the A, I can scale the size up or down. This is sort of the effect of getting a large print book without having to get one specially. I can change my lighting options. So it defaults to a white background, black text. I might like the way this sepia looks better. That might be easier on my eyes. Or if I'm reading at night, then it puts white text on black background. And then there are a few other options. People with dyslexia, there's a special option for them. But for the most part, those are the main appearance things that you would be interested in. So I think that pretty much covers the book navigation. Are there any questions about that before I move on to the audiobook? Okay, so I'm gonna go back and I'm here on my shelf, but if I wasn't, I can always go to this little stack of books and see what I have checked out. And so I see I've got Giver of Stars that we were just in. I also have this magazine issue of Wired checked out for 14 days to me, and I can flip through. It's just like flipping through every page of a magazine. And then I also have an audiobook checked out. So I'm going to open this in Libby. And I don't want to make it play at you in case it's really loud, but basically you would press the play button just like you would if you were going to play music or a video. If you get distracted and you need to jump back 15 seconds, you can do that with this button here. You could also drag along here and jump around. There are some features up at the top here. So this first one is the speed. I don't know if you've heard this, but a lot of people are listening to audiobooks on 1.5 times the speed, or maybe even twice as fast, so that they get through it really fast. And I heard someone joking that a Barack Obama audiobook would require a fast speed like that if you think about his speaking style. So you might be interested in playing around with that. I can hide that. The next option with the moon is going to let me set a sleep timer if you wanted to fall asleep to the sweet sounds of an audiobook. And then the next options are more about bookmarks and highlights. So if you got to a really funny part of this and you wanted to play it for someone later, you could throw down a bookmark. Let me just jump ahead. And if I tap this bookmark thing here, you'll see that it put a little one down at the bottom. So if I was listening ahead and I wanted to come back and find that spot to show a friend, tapping on that orange bookmark icon took me back to that spot. Okay. Any questions about audiobooks?
I don't know if this is the right time to ask or not.
Go ahead.
I use my very first iPhone as my audiobook. So I've had Overdrive on it for years, but it's really finally, see, it's the very first one. Yeah. It's finally kind of breaking down. Okay. So I want to now put audiobooks on my current phone, which is an updated phone. And so I obviously am going to want to load Libby on my new phone, do I have to delete the app off the old one? I'm worried about confusing it. Like, why do you have your library card associated with Overdrive here and Libby over here?
Right, that's a good instinct, but Libby is very free about that. So they understand that people might want to be listening on more than one device. So you could even have Libby on, say, a tablet as well as a phone and be listening to the same book, and it'll keep track of your progress in both places. And if let's see, I'm here at 1 minute or whatever. If I went back to, just switch my screens here. If I went back to this one where I'm logged in on the web browser version of libbyapp.com, and I come to open up Calypso, I am pretty sure it's going to put me at the 1 minute mark. If I'm wrong, then we'll have done an experiment. That's fine.
While we're waiting for it to figure out where it wants to put you in the book.
It might want me to not be in Libby. So let me close out and see if that helps. Yeah, go ahead, Beth.
Where's the search function?
Oh, yeah.
Usually I want to find a specific book. I pretty much always know what I'm looking for.
Yep, I haven't showed you that yet. Okay, so here I am at that 1 minute mark. So it didn't like it to be open in both places, but it's considering it its responsibility to keep track.
Right.
Okay, so I can show you on here kind of just as well as on the phone. So it's this magnifying glass that I can do a search. So if I want to see if homegoing is an ebook or e-audio, I can see on, I got my preferences, right? So let me get back to anything, and anything that's available or checked out. So here I can see that it's a book, and then here's the audiobook. I know it's an audiobook because there's this little earphone icon. It tells me how many hours it lasts, and the cover is more of a square, just like those plastic cases with the CDs. So those are my cues. If you know that you only want one or the other, though, I think it's faster to choose the preferences, because this is not a very big icon and it might not catch your eye when you're ready to check it out. Any other searching tips that I can think of? The browsing options in here are kind of fun. Like, you can start by subjects, and you can go straight to romance novels or, you know, whatever you're interested in. And then usually there are some subcategories, maybe not for romance. Let's try another one. If I go to science, nope, sometimes at the top here, it breaks it down a little bit more. Fiction will, no, it's changed a little bit in this new version. So I guess if you wanted to just find mysteries, you would probably want to look on this list until you find that category. You maybe could search the word mystery and that would work too, but starting in the subjects is a good idea. And this random thing, let's just see what it does for us. Of all of those things, it gives me a random selection. I think that's pretty funny. Although we did do something similar with that you can find from the library's homepage, where we did a surprise me to help people who were really missing the ability to come into the building and browse. And so you can also get a random book from the library too, if that sounds fun to you.
Stacy, go back down to where it showed books, audio. There was a line on when you were just there under search. Okay, no, there's another line. And if you add them up, I think that's where your other number came from.
Oh.
Books, audios, and I don't know what the third one was. You were
yeah, where
fast.
was I just? Was it in the random one where it told me?
There you go, right there.
The difference between 25,000 and 39. You're right.
That's it.
That was very sharp of you to notice that. Thanks, Sharon.
Well, I had thought of it earlier that maybe it added audiobooks separate.
Okay, yeah. You know, I wonder if it was because I had already changed my preference to just be books.
Hmm.
That could be.
Yeah.
Yeah, good point. Okay.
So are they going to phase out Overdrive? Because that's all I use. I've never seen Libby.
That's the impression that I've gotten, but there hasn't been anything firm about it. So Sharon, what kind of device are you using
I
Overdrive
have 2 different Fire tablets and a Kindle, but I usually load them from my Fire tablets. And then if I wanted it, I can still load it over onto my Kindle. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, so that sounds like you've got a system set up. If you already have the Overdrive app on there, I wouldn't worry about it for a while. Like
Okay.
for a year, probably. I don't know that you need to think about it.
Okay. Except I'm having trouble signing in. Yes.
But you are now having trouble signing in?
Yes.
Hmm.
Do you know at what point you're getting stuck?
I think it's partly Google. I have like 3 different Google accounts on 3 different equipment. So I should have 4 passwords. And when I counted up and I've got 6 or 7, and I think I'm just mixed up badly. But I did change my email from what I was originally using on Overdrive. And I'm not sure that's been figured out yet. I don't know if there's a place under my account that I can change it.
Yeah, that's a good question that I don't know the answer to. So Sharon, I think I'm gonna write this down, and I think we can either connect maybe tomorrow or later and see if we can figure out how to reset your Overdrive account
Okay.
to a new email address is what I'm writing down.
Yeah.
And so this is just an example that we help people with this kind of question all the time. We're always getting questions about how do I get started with ebooks, or how do I get out of this problem I'm stuck in Libby. And we always have an IT person on staff every hour that we're open who can help you with questions over the phone. And as far as in-person help, it's a little tricky for our reopening phase right now. We normally would do drop-in tech help once a week with one-on-one help for any kind of question you bring in with your device. And we aren't doing that right now. But if you're very stuck, you could try bringing in your device upstairs to the info desk, and we can see if it's a problem that can be helped at from a distance or through a plexiglass screen or whatever we're trying to do to be safe right now. So Sharon, I'll be in touch tomorrow probably and see if we can help you.
Okay.
Okay.
Good.
I wanted to say one more thing, and then I'll see if there are any other questions. If you do a search and we don't have the book that you're looking for, if it's maybe an older book or something that's a little less obvious, you can make a request that the library should think about purchasing it. And so the place to do that is, if I go back to our homepage, and it's in the catalog. Sorry, I have to hide you guys so that I can see the catalog. Okay, and if you can't find it, clicking here will take you to the purchase suggestion. And it's going to have me log in, but basically when you go through the purchase suggestion part, you'll get a chance to indicate that you're interested in an ebook, or you can write that in the notes part. And then we will consider whether that's something we could get to add. If it is an old book, the odds are sort of slim that we would buy it as an ebook, but you never know. And if it's a very old book, like if it's in the public domain for copyright, you might be able to get it for free. through Project Gutenberg or something else online that's distributing it. So I don't know if you've ever done that, but I've got some Project Gutenberg ebooks on my phone, and it's just kind of nice if it comes free and you can keep it forever then. Okay, any last questions about ebooks? Sounds like you both have already been using them. So if there's anything that you're still stuck on and we can help you, please don't hesitate to ask. And one-on-one help usually is the best because each device can be a little different.
Thanks, Stacy.
Thanks a lot.
Oh, you're welcome. And it's nice to see your faces.
Yours too.
And I hope we'll see you in the library soon.